Maybe his car broke.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the January 20th, 2026 meeting of the Powell Planning Commission. I'm going to call the meeting to order and start with a board member roll call.
John Bashy.
Fred Miller.
Stacy Boxer, David Powell.
Is anybody joining us from Zoom? Okay. That's everybody. We have a quorum. Moving on to approval of the agenda, which would consist of approving minutes from January 6th. Potentially a discussion with Scott from BCRC regarding next steps for the town plan. A discussion about ideas for new zoning administrator job description. Then we would set our next meeting agenda items, go to public comment and adjourn. I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I would make a motion to approve it. Could we switch 5 and 6 to give them a little more time to get here? We can discuss some of that.
Yeah, we can switch.
And then I would make that motion.
I'll second.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Moving on to approval of the minutes for January 6th. Has everybody had a chance to look at them?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Discussion, I just wanna mention a couple of things. I think there was one typo for the end of item 7. Mike Gardner. Okay, I asked planning commission members to accept the self-evaluation from Mike and to create a more applicable one for next year. It's a typo, it says move.
Okay.
So it's more. Also, I read it and then I was rereading it, scanning it over. And I think during that, toward the end of that discussion with his evaluation, I had stressed the idea of a line of communication between the zoning administrator and the planning commission. I think it was, so if we could add a line about that. Not exactly sure what the exact wording was, but just that, I think it was in answer to when John asked him to do a list. And I suggested, well, just, if something comes up, communicate with us. So let's have an open line of communication. It was a long meeting, Kate, and I don't want to force you to go back. Time travel through that again. Okay.
Actually, since now I'm reading it again, says near the end of, I guess it's number 7. FM asked planning commission members to accept the self-evaluation MG. We did.
Yeah.
It doesn't say that here. We should have in the record
Oh, yeah.
that we accepted it.
Yeah, so unanimous, we
Unanimously
agreed.
accepted the, yeah.
Yeah.
So with those changes, or is that the way to do it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, with those changes, I would move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, so that brings us up to ideas for the new zoning administrative job description. I don't know who took the time to put a lot of thought into it. If anybody did, if you got the ideas you want to discuss, I'm open to hearing.
Does it say how many hours are involved?
For for that job. It's hard to, you can't, that's the type of job you can't, it's more responsive than,
But is it a part-time? Is it
or
full-time?
it's part-time for sure.
Part-time.
Very part-time, with a stipend. As Mike expressed, sometimes not very much happening, then other times a whole lot's happening.
Right.
So he goes beyond any arbitrary set of hours in a week. And that's the nature of small town appointed positions.
One of the things I wanted to say about it was a self-evaluation. Is that something that we find as a standard? Or is that something we can talk about, maybe putting it as us as evaluator and not?
I think it's a courtesy that I see in a lot of jobs where I've ever worked, where evaluations happen on an annual basis that the employee, you're just doing that to gauge how they feel about how they're doing with their job.
Mhm.
And I think it's a good courtesy and it definitely gives some insight to that you might be missing out on. If you're just observing for a year and forming your opinion, where you allow the person to give their insight on their perception of their performance. I think it's a good standard to follow. And I see that wherever I've ever worked, that evaluations happened on an annual basis.
Just to be transparent, I mean, in my case, I didn't feel like I had any basis to evaluate the role.
Right.
You know, I see so little of it, so it was,
Yeah.
so that's a good place to start, and I want to compare what you're saying and what the job description is, and we need to revise the job description and say, well, are there areas we think we need to improve on? I mean, the whole goal is to be positive, hopefully, in helping enhance the work. So I think that's a good place to start.
Our observance and our ongoing evaluation is influenced sometimes by negative complaints from other people. So it's like we want to be able to take that and filter and run that through the filter of what's being required, what's the guy actually doing. And,
And that's the challenge. I mean, somebody's pissed off, everybody's going to hear about it, and that's all I might know
Oh, yeah.
about your job, and that's not fair.
Yeah,
You know?
that's why I asked that
Yeah.
question to him, to
Yeah.
see if it was, again, we can be on this board, we are 2 days, 2 times a month.
Yeah.
And really don't hear a whole lot about this whole position, so
Right.
it's,
Right.
and that's why I kind of asked, is there any complaints or anything like that? Because it's something that we don't normally
Yeah.
hear.
Yeah.
And any complaints that come in, unless you're actively sitting in front of a select board, you don't hear about any of that stuff.
Right. And my observation would be, I'm not sure, I don't think anything to do with the zoning process is confidential. Really, so there should be transparency, make sure we have transparency on that. Just for a general sense of what is happening. Is somebody looking to put a business in, we would like to know about it.
Right.
Not to oppose it, but to offer our support.
Are building permits posted on the website?
I'm not sure.
I don't think so.
There should be a folder along with everything else that shows that stuff. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I haven't actively looked for anything like
And
that.
I've been on the website. I don't think I've seen anything like that.
Do you think they should be?
Perhaps. I think it'd be nice to
I want to
see
think through.
how many permits are happening in our town.
Well, that's something we can ask.
When something goes to the development review board, that stuff is available. That documentation is available.
Because it has to be posted in the newspapers.
All that stuff will come out, yeah.
But I think it'd be nice to, see how many permits are, you know, what's happening in the town.
I just want to
Just
be,
as a resident, not necessarily on a planning board, right?
I just want to be just thoughtful. I can't really foresee a problem with posting it, but I might imagine, you know, putting down how much somebody is spending on an addition or something like that. It's kind of private. You know, I don't know if that, I mean, maybe statistics about, you know, how many permits were requested and issued a quarter or something like that would be great, but I'm not sure I want to put the whole
Oh,
shebang
just
out there.
John Smith Garage Edition, you know?
Yeah, I don't know, I'd want to think it through a little bit. In terms of the job description, I think we could just delete the whole first paragraph because that's all about, you know,
Yeah, there was a section, yeah, I don't have one in front of me right now either, but there was a section that was
right.
no, not really relevant at all.
Well, that's the one about, you know, being primary staff support to, well, for the development review board. And that probably is true.
Mhm.
But, and the planning commission, which is not. And I just delete all the stuff about, but maybe, I mean, it's hard to do this. You don't have it in front of you. I can look at this, you know, maybe somebody needs to draft, or maybe, you know, you should draft a revised job description that we could compare to this and then say, yeah, that's great, or let's add a little sentence here or something and, you know, put it in front of us before the meeting so we could look at it. I think that'd be the better way to try to do this. But I think, you know, a lot of the stuff, for me, it's fine, except that the requirements related to the planning commission seems to be overstated, and including in some of the essential job functions. And if you eliminate that,
So you made a lot of revisions.
well, I highlighted things that I wasn't exactly thinking was true.
Can you print from there to here, to the office?
No.
You can email it to me and I can print it.
Yeah, I don't know if that'd be the West way, though. I think, you know, then what? I mean, I think if, John, if
Well, we
you
should
think it'd
look
be,
at it and see,
well, but tonight you want to wait until it prints out and do that now?
no, but we can take it after the meeting.
Well, I was suggesting that John draft a revised one. I think we're kind of in alignment on the kind of changes. We talked about it some at the last meeting. And then we just review that compared to the current one at our next meeting and hopefully put it to bed. I mean, I'm glad to send this around, just to my highlights, whatever, but, you know,
Yeah, the other thing I kind of think should happen when it comes down to a review time, I would love, I mean, maybe my feeling anyway, it's probably not everybody's, but potentially get the DRB and planning together at the same meeting when we do the
I
evaluation.
like that.
Only because we have to deal with them on a DRB
Yeah.
directly.
Yeah.
And then here it's kind of indirectly, but we're tasked to do that. So
That's great.
it's the DRB and,
That's
and,
good,
and,
yeah.
and same with working out bylaws and stuff like that. Having the DRB come in is because, in my view, because I sit on that board,
Right.
helping out with what we got to do and how we have to enforce them on there
Mhm.
starts here.
Yeah.
So if they have insight of what we have to enforce and how we have to go about doing that same insight, I mean, me and Jimmy try to bring that to the board each time we come in because we both sit on that
Mhm.
board there. But it's tough without having everybody. I mean, you could have the chair come in or the whole, you know, everybody on that board. Or like, again, just the chair come in and give the view of how they have to run that meeting and what they deal with doing it. Because it is quite a judicial board, so it's, you swear people in, you have to take testimony, you do that kind of stuff. But here's the law, here's the rules and the bylaws, we try to stick to it says and see how it plays out.
Process is that it's only the administrator who takes the application, views
Puts it
everything,
through. Mhm.
runs it through his knowledge of the
Of what's
bylaws,
written,
the
yeah.
bylaws, and possibly the town plan.
Mhm.
And he either approves or kicks it to the
Or
DRB.
takes it to DRB, yeah.
And then the DRB does the same thing, though. They use the bylaws.
Bylaws again.
Right, so.
Right. So basically from the insight from that, so when he gets a permit, just, and I know he kind of explained some of this. But when he gets a permit, he looks through that whole permit. So he has to find out if it meets all the bylaws or not. If there's anything that doesn't meet the bylaws, say it needs a setback or a variance or something like that. That's when he says, okay, it's got to go to the board. So if it meets all the setbacks or meets everything that required, then the board never sees it. So that just got approved a couple of years ago, so that all the permits were coming to the DRB, every single permit. So
Okay.
we would come in and sit for 5 minutes and go, yeah, it meets everything. Okay, approved. So to cut back on the time involved in that way, we gave him the authority to basically approve them if they were set.
To DRB, though, is if there's conflict.
Only if there's a conflict.
If Michael or the zoning administrator approves. Well, if he doesn't approve it, it's definitely gonna go.
If he says
Yeah,
no
yeah.
to it for some reason, it would come to us.
To the
Yeah.
DRB. However, if he approves it, then the budding neighbor may approve.
And
it.
if they're arguing it, then
Yeah.
they could say, yeah, we'll send it to the board to talk about, yes.
Yeah.
If there's nobody complaining, none of that stuff, it's just a sign off and go. So, and we kind of streamlined that a little bit just because it was so cumbersome of having to go and meet, and we had to go through all that. We had to decide whether it was there, which is what he's basically doing up front. So that's why I say like getting that, the way that lays out, I think having an evaluation with everybody, just because he works with that, it might be part of that.
Discussion brought to mind the fee, $250 fee.
Yeah.
For review from the DRB. That is on the applicant regardless of whether he's appealing or whether somebody else is appealing.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that. That's something he would have to answer. I know this, I know
I
they,
think that's that.
yeah, I know they were putting the new prices is all I knew about, is they're putting some new prices to it because it was so laxed as far as permits. Like you go to any other town and it would cost you $200, $300, $400, $500 to do a permit, where we were, I think at 35 or something. But really low for applying for permits. And it didn't, like he said, it didn't cover time. I mean, from him just sitting in for a couple of hours or a half a day trying to figure out if the permit was good, goes through all those bylaws to make sure everything's right. That he just spent more time than a permit was valued at.
Right.
So, but I mean, other than that, I think, like I said, I think just that, like I said, take that first topic right out. The rest of it, I think would, from my remembrance of it, was relatively good. As far as the evaluation, I think the whole first, I knew it was a paragraph, if say it's first
Yeah.
paragraph, then that's what I would just say is take that first paragraph off and we could discuss this if we want to add things to the rest of it.
Yeah, it seems like the only thing in there that I'm not seeing elsewhere is about the relationship with the development review board. So we got to stick that in somewhere.
Right.
I mean, if you don't feel like, I'd be glad to take a shot at rewriting, but I think having a draft in front of us.
You, and I agree. The wording for supervising planning commission, like,
Yeah,
that was wrong, that's the wrong word,
right.
the wrong word, so.
Yeah, certainly be a resource to us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Right.
you gotta have separation.
yeah. So do you want to give it a shot? Shall I? What do you?
Yeah.
do it?
Like I said, yeah. I don't-
Okay. Okay, great.
I think you guys can, we can't all go back and forth on email as a group.
Right, right.
A couple.
A couple can, yeah.
You two can communicate by email
Yeah.
Okay,
and share your documents and bounce it off each
Okay.
other.
Yeah.
John, you need me to send that to you again, the job
Yeah,
description?
if you would, please. Yeah, just send it back out.
Bring it in before the meeting and we can look at it.
right. If it's in the packet, Then we can review it before we get there, highlight anything we want to talk about, and everything else is good.
Yeah. Other than that, I think that's all right.
So. Any other ideas on the? Any need to continue the conversation? Any need to continue the conversation? Any more ideas?
No, I think we can probably, I mean, I think we're kind of seeing it the same way, and it's just gonna be a little bit of wordsmithing.
Mhm.
That brings us to BCRC. And
Just saw a truck or a car pulling over down there, so it went real slow right there, I don't know. Going down in or not.
Yes, I reached out to him about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, I never got anything back.
Yeah.
You know, I will reach out again tonight and just
Yeah.
ask if he wants to reschedule for a different day.
taking advantage of this item, I want to clarify it a little
Yeah.
bit more. Regarding next steps for the town plan, that's fine. Also, I have questions on what because they're talking to Mike. There's obviously some things that can be done with bylaws,
Mhm.
probably the sooner the better. And I want to clarify the process for doing that, how much we have to involve BCRC. And if we have to have a new town plan, I don't think we have to have a new town plan to revise bylaws, make changes to bylaws. I don't believe so.
I heard at one point that we had to have the plan in place before we,
Right.
because remember, we had that set of
Yeah.
bylaws related to the Vermont
Yeah.
changes.
Yeah,
And they said we had to have the plan done before we could do that. I don't know if that's true, but
Right, I think there is some wiggle room as far as, if it's gonna take a while to get a plan.
yeah, well, I don't know.
You don't want, as opposed to letting your plan expire, then it closes everything down.
Right.
If the plan is not expired yet, I think you can go in and make some revisions. And that's pretty much what I really wanted to learn tonight.
Well, did we announce at the last meeting, or did I hear in between that we did not get the planning grant?
We did not get through.
So that's a
pretty
big
much
deal.
why we're-
right. I did go to, there was a BCRC county planning meeting that I got invited to attend. I thought it'd be interesting to learn from. And I sent you a copy. They have a 3-page outline. And one of the chapters on energy was 49 pages long.
Mhm.
It was, there's a lot of data in there and graphs and stuff. And interestingly, though, we also learned that like a lot of the data that they're basing their stuff on, for instance, particularly around electric, everything's changed since AI and data centers have come and their data is not up to date.
Mhm.
But what their plan, the structure of their plan, it gave me a light bulb into how we might approach this, because they end up each section with policies, which are kind of a lens through which you would look at proposals that come to you. And then goals. And this is for the BCRC. This is not for any town or other organization. This is for them. And action items. And it occurred to me, because what we wanted to get rid of was all the data that was in the town plan, was if we thought of our plan as an addendum to the county plan. There's all the data. Here's all the stuff they're talking for the county. And then the Pownell addendum could be for each one of these topic areas. What's specific to Pownell, or is there anything that isn't in the plan that we should add about Pownell? And then what are our goals and action items? And that would be it, because all the data would be there.
I've stated a few times that I'm very much for local control
Yeah.
and less for regional and state control. And to the extent that what is the extent that we are underneath their umbrella? Or we have to remain under their umbrella for certain things. Though that's worth, that's something, it's a question that needs at some point to be brought and clarified.
Well, it seems to me that, so I learned that the draft county plan is due in April. So there might be some little changes after that, but not substantial ones. So that would mean we could take one topic area at a time. And if you see something in there that you just don't like, well, then that becomes a question to them is this mandatory by state reg or something like that? Or is this something we might go a different direction? And that's a question that they will answer without us paying them money.
I looked at their draft and I think I remarked on the fact that it doesn't mention Pownell at all. And that could be good or bad.
It's regional, yeah.
It depends on your outlook.
Yeah.
It's like, that could be good or bad. I don't think they should be making plans for Pownell without us.
Well, they're not.
Can we,
This is a plan for them.
Yeah, yeah.
And then.
can you email them and get questions answered without them coming in?
Yes,
I would prefer to, handle our interactions with them in a person to person basis.
Mhm.
I think there's always, could be something lost in translation when you're putting it down, when you're writing it, presenting it. Conversational mode. I think something that's said can trigger another question, so that's like it's more lively, and I think it's more, you're gonna get more information that way.
Yeah, it depends what the level of the question. I think they will answer
The
questions.
question is,
I think,
Yeah,
as questions come up, we get it answered by email. Instead of waiting for them to come in here, 2 weeks and then they show up today.
well, I agree with that. But to me, it's just, I was having a hard time wrapping my head around how do we go through this process if they're not basically holding our hand and leading us. But to your point, maybe we don't want that
we
anyway.
don't need that. Or to what extent do we have to rely on?
But using the structure they have, and then, if we take up one section at a time and say, so, how does this relate to us? Is there stuff in here we don't like? Is there stuff in here that's missing? And then, they have their goals, but that's not necessarily our goals, but maybe they have 8 goals and we pick 2.
One thing I wanted to mention to you, you went to their commission, their meeting,
I attended by Zoom, yeah.
or by Zoom. We have a delegate. Walt Clear, I think.
To
Delegate.
their board. This is something else.
I was gonna suggest that we can have 2 delegates. And if you were interested, you might
I don't,
request that of the select board.
well, I would need to learn a lot more. What would be required and stuff. I got copied on their agenda for this is a working group that BCRC is using to help them revise
Okay.
their plan. And Nate is on and my son. And because I was talking to him and hearing, I said, I'd like to see what they're doing. And so that's how I got there.
Okay.
She included me as if I was going to be on this working group now. And I said, whoa, wait a minute, I'm not signing up. You got to tell me a little bit more about what you're expecting of me and whatever. So, I'm not saying no, but more to learn.
Yeah.
But I think that might solve the problem of how we go about it. Because we have their section, and most of them won't be 49 pages long. But if we took a chapter at a time, reviewed it prior to the meeting, everybody comes with little highlights and underlines, and we can talk about it.
I have the impression that, when municipalities are designing their town plan, that there's different formats that you can choose, you select to do.
You can do whatever you want.
Currently, our current plan has a format with all the database,
Right.
the tables, and
Updated.
all the pages and pages.
Right.
we don't have to select that format.
Well, that's what I'm saying. This would bypass that entirely.
Yeah.
Because I mean, at least in my mind, it seemed like the data is good to have available.
Yeah.
But I want the Pownell plan to get to the nitty gritty. And then if you want to dig into the data, it's there. So let's just refer to the county plan. And if there's stuff missing about Pownell that's germane to what we're setting for goals, well, sure, we write that in there.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, but otherwise, no.
Yeah.
We can just say, here's a chunk of data and here's where we're going with it. So that would mean, you know, we have March and maybe April, I don't know when in April will be available, where we don't have anything we can work off of because they're still working. Well, we can work off the energy one that's been drafted, although it's going to be redrafted.
As far as Powell's energy, all requirements, Powell exceeds the renewable energy.
That's great.
We've got more than enough. We exceeded that a long time ago.
Well, yeah.
So,
It did seem to me, no, our meeting 2 meetings ago when BCRC was here, they mentioned 2 things. One was a local emergency management plan, which we have, but we have to revise by June. So it seemed like that should be an agenda item soon.
I think we have emergency management. I don't know if it's a board or a committee. I think they formed that a long time ago. Craig was involved in it. He's a coordinator.
Well, if another board's working on it,
Yeah.
great, but he presented it to us as if we somehow had to be involved or ratify or something.
Yeah. I
And
think some communities actually do have that kind of involvement. So I think the list of things that planning commissions can do is not a list of things planning commissions must do.
that's fine, as long as someone else is doing it. I know that if I understood him correctly, if we didn't have one of these in place and something happened, we would be ineligible for a lot of state funding. So I don't want to see that expire.
We have an emergency
Yes,
plan.
We have one, but it has to be revised. Or at least
Dated.
it could be just a rubber stamp, we keep the same one, but we have to actually do that.
There was something.
There is some kind of mitigation, emergency management thing.
Well, that's another one.
There's something
There's something else wrote down. It's called the River Corridor Protections and Hazard Mitigation Plan, and we don't have one of those.
right.
And that would entitle us to additional state support if there was a problem. So I don't know anything about writing something like that. And I don't know who I turn to learn how to write it, but there must be examples and BCRC must have some from towns. And it seems like if we got a couple months before we can really dig in on the plan, if we could do those 2 things, that'd be great.
I think we could start with the question, find out if the select board has already covered that with somebody. But I don't know. I don't watch every meeting and I say, it could be that stuff is already taken care of. Could be the conservation commission might be involved.
Maybe Kate can ask.
Well, I know Ashley Farrington from Concom, she's working on a resiliency community program.
That's a
And
different,
I know she was discussing coming up with a hazardous mitigation plan. Maybe Tom, you can speak more on it.
Well, I'm confused whether it would actually result in that. I can find out.
I know she said that the town does have that emergency,
the
Management.
local emergency
Yeah.
management thing.
but we do not yet have the
Right.
hazardous mitigation. As far as is anybody working on that, I don't know, and I can certainly ask.
I mean, it would be great if it did produce that, it'd be helpful to the town,
Well-
but I can find out.
And maybe also an email to BCRC to just say, can you give us some examples or guidance on what this has to look at?
Well, I did email him and I'm hoping it gets back because I think it would be very beneficial for everyone if they were here in person, so you could ask all these questions. I know.
Yeah.
Ideally, another 2 weeks is not, great, but I think face to face would be much better than
Yep.
a bunch of emails back and forth.
If we're planning up for our next agenda items, so can we reach out to Scott again?
Yeah, I just did, yeah, and I just said, if you have the desire to reschedule with us, everyone was looking forward to speaking with you, and I said, if you are, let me know, and I'll send you the next 2 or 3 available dates. So hopefully he gets back to me maybe tomorrow.
Well, if we could plan it for our next meeting, my positive assumption would be he could come at the next meeting and maybe we can add to what we are looking for from him, some guidance on what we need to do or who does these other two plans, because it seems like we should
Shouldn't
make
you
sure.
once give us an outline how to go about this? I thought
I don't remember.
I thought when he was here once, he gave us some sort of outline.
I'd have to look back and see.
Anybody remember that?
He gave me like four topics to work on. But without having that right in front of me.
I was in the meeting notes from two meetings ago. So our next meeting is the 3rd of February. We have the 3rd and the 17th, so hopefully he could come to one or the other of those. And maybe the select board could also be asked, if they're aware of these, if somebody's working on it, whatever. And if the answer is yes, I'm great to step back and let it unfold. And if the answer is no, then, the question is, how do we learn how to do this? I don't know.
A bunch of information.
Yeah.
Just started. We know where the river is. That's what I hold.
Well, yeah, and evidently the river corridor is much wider than the floodplain.
Yeah, well,
And I don't know what that means and
no, I have the valley floor.
The river flows north.
Just-
yes.
Isn't that weird?
Well, it's not, but
Yeah.
it flows downhill. How's that?
You know, the Fountain Power was once underwater,
No,
almost all of it.
Both underwater?
Yeah,
It's not
down.
yes, it was an underground sea there.
They, listen to it. That Badcock, Lake Badcock. That's what it was.
I don't know.
Yeah, after the glaciers.
Yeah.
It was huge,
Huh,
and it was a natural dam. And somewhere down in, maybe Pittsfield, the dam let go, and it
that'll flood us.
carved everything out, the
Huh,
whole valley.
interesting.
Left the river behind. But it was like, the highest peaks of our mountains were above water.
Yeah,
Couple of them, like Mount Anthony and,
Greylock,
Mount Greylock,
yeah.
and I think maybe down south.
I'm not gonna plan for that. If that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like,
We'll be living on boats by then.
the glacier was like for how many thousands of years, and then that was the lake.
Any chance Scott thought our meeting was at 7?
Why is he saying that?
Well, I see a car, but doesn't seem to be coming this way now.
All right.
Anyway,
So. Meeting with BCRC and possible more follow-up on the zoning administrator job description discussion.
and follow up on those 2 emergency plans,
Yeah.
what our role is, if any.
Anything, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was the hazardous mitigation plan and then,
One is the local emergency management plan.
okay, so.
That's the one we have one now, but it needs to be,
So my notes say, Scott mentions that the local emergency management plan is due June 1st.
right?
The town does not have river corridor protections or a hazardous mitigation plan.
Okay, so that's 2 different plans. So there's 3 plans. I lumped those two together. Yeah,
I know there's something about that.
There is something. and
I remember hearing it
Craig
last
Odell
year.
was involved in it.
I'll see what I can find.
And that was like, I'm going back 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah, I remember hearing something about it because they also worked on a forest management one at the same time.
not that there's anything for us to do, but obviously I'm very curious about the racetrack. And that auction got postponed until late February sometime. I don't know when. And I don't know why it got postponed, if anything.
25th.
No bidders.
I don't know if anything has come up. I don't think there's anything for us to do about it, but it could have a huge impact.
Yeah. Well,
Somebody from the town should be there so we know what happened.
I would assume it would have to be,
Like Gardner's, if he had any intention of being there, they post signage and all that.
I was planning to go. You said 25th? What time?
I don't know.
Do you know what time it is, Kate? No.
I can check the town posting real quick. I know the other one was at
I think,
11 o'clock,
post
so
it
this
again.
one may be the same.
So you'll see.
That's a
it's
Wednesday.
banner or something like that.
Maybe. Yeah, probably.
I think this auction is under the control of the bank, the Corporation Bank. So
Yeah.
if there's nobody there to bid, or one person there, they're not gonna hold an auction. And sell it for nothing.
I don't know. Then the bank is still stuck with it and they have the liability.
Yeah.
I would think, I mean, it was suggested to me by somebody who may or may not know what they're talking about that, the bank might pay somebody to take it off their hands.
So February 25th at 11 o'clock.
Oh, okay, thank you. 11 o'clock.
Yeah, the
Where
liability
is
is
it at the?
that's the thing.
It was gonna be, I don't know.
Gonna be a tough sale.
Yeah, you're buying liability.
Oh, it's huge.
$1 million cleanup.
Yeah.
Does somebody know that?
Oh, yeah.
You would think they would know.
You would hope they would disclose that, would they?
Does the bank have to dispose it?
It's a rough situation.
Do you notice, is the auction still gonna take place at the racetrack?
So, yeah.
Yeah.
That's,
But I did speak to Solars. He said that last quote they had for taking the thing down, $2 million.
Oh,
Gotta be,
run out, yeah.
gotta be more than that now.
Well, it's because it was about a little over $1 million a few years ago.
yeah,
But that's before the fire. The fire has made it hazardous.
Right.
So
Is the
that's,
solar not working?
oh, the solar works, that's fine, that's a separate little parcel.
Yeah.
Julius Rosenwald was,
Sorry to interrupt.
no,
Supposedly the guy who's renting that is in arrears, so
on what?
in default, paying rent to the.
Oh, you're kidding.
No, so they had some interest from people who wanted to take that over because that's a moneymaker,
Yeah,
but they can't do anything until the legal stuff is.
But they've been paying the taxes.
I'd like to see that taken out.
yeah.
Maria's on taxes.
correct. But they have not, they've been fined, right, for not putting up a fence or whatever it is, and those fines keep accumulating.
They never closed it up when I were supposed to.
Yeah. So there are
Talking about-
liabilities there. Julius was saying he thought it'd be cheaper to build a new side rail cars to take all the gunk out of there
Oh, for
and trucking it.
Vigilant.
I mean, all those
Don't have to down.
weight of all that stuff. I mean, it's gonna chew up the roads.
Yeah.
So put it on the railroad tracks. Anyway,
All right, so I think we're gonna move on to public comment.
And I asked some, I didn't come to ask any questions, it's, Tom Volper, Center Street, also Conservation Commission, I usually, I guess, keeping track, what you guys doing, but something did occur to me, and I'm sorry, I probably should have asked this a long time ago, but in terms of the plan, I know in the last plan, there was a section, unique natural features in town hall. The following is a list of identified significant natural features which should be considered for special protection. And then just, you know, I know you guys have probably heard that Williams College bought one of our bogs, 10 acres.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Don Campbell was just getting more and more concerned that, this.
What did they buy? What was
So I
it?
don't know anything about it, except that Don said they bought it. He went to them and said, look, I'm concerned about protecting this bog. You know, would you buy it? And they said, okay. I don't know what they paid. I don't know if you know where it is. I think they're being really kind of discreet, but
You see that they're listed though, on, you have,
yeah, you know, we have a couple of spots in there, like Cranberry Bog, Little Swamp. I don't know if it's one of them.
Yeah.
But I guess what my question is, should we, maybe even Conservation Commission could help me do this, should we try to update that list? To see if something's changed or whether something needs more or less protection or.
I think. At this stage, I think that would be something perfect for the Conservation Commission.
Okay.
And Planning Commission probably should have to be involved in that.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah, but maybe we could take a look at the list, has anything changed?
Yeah, I don't know, but would,
Present it to you guys, or
In the
whatever you want, and then you do whatever.
yeah, I'll give you, I've lived here for 65 years of my 70 years. And it's like, they've never heard of any of these bogs. I don't have any clue where they are.
Well, all of Barber Pond, I mean, there are bogs on both sides of the road and.
And I've been
Could be stuff in the green.
off my
I
71
think
years.
some, up like, you know, before Ferry Road that way.
Yeah.
Some right off of, South Street.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I know years ago, because I'm on the Historical Society, there was a woman, Grace Graylock Niles.
Yes. I've got a book.
I mean, yeah, she wrote a whole book about.
Bog hopping,
It was about.
bog hopping for the something, yeah,
But.
yes, I
We
remember.
were famous for orchids and things like that in those bogs up there. So it got me thinking like, okay. Is it too late or is something that we could do to sort of help protect them other than
Yeah.
legal stuff and just.
I think zoning wise, they're already relatively protected. Nobody can build there.
Right.
So
I just would find out, I think I would find out if.
I think you would fill in-
You guys could probably look at.
So you're not gonna-
See what the state legal is on them.
Okay.
I know like.
if it's your property.
It's been a lot of years, but I'm sure they updated it, but. You can't build on wetlands, that kind of stuff. Those are all different things that rules and laws from the state now.
Yeah.
Some of them have been in 10 to 15 years that I could think of.
Yeah.
But something like that, I think if there's more. Rules or laws that might be able to say, hey, this is what I found on that, bring it back to us.
Sure.
Because we could add that to our town plan and stuff like that, or the bylaws to say,
Yeah.
this area can't be done, any of that kind of stuff, we can help out.
Here's the state law, whatever.
Right. Just so that they're, they're not going in trying to bulldoze some of the area and.
I assume the bogs were, well, Williams bought it. That's a private owner.
Yeah.
So it's private property. So,
Right.
You know, and some of it might be within town-owned property or state-owned property.
The only thing you want to protect is like if there's a water source that feeds that bog and it's outside of what the Williams College owns, you know, what are the state laws that apply to that?
State will fall into that, because any water that comes out of the ground basically is state water, so if it runs into a brook. Barber's Pond is a private pond, but it's state-owned water.
Oh,
So that's how interesting how that works. So like fishing it, you're fishing on state water, even though it's a private pond. It's the land under it is owned, not the water itself. It's they consider that because a river runs into it or brooks. Any natural feature that like a spring comes out and then turns into it and then feeds the pond is different than a man-made dug pond. So like if you go on your property and dig your own little pond, that's yours and your water. But if it's gone from a brook or stream, that's state water now.
We'll do a little, we'll make it a little mini project just to update that list, give it back to you guys, do whatever.
and we're gonna have that combined meeting in March.
Yeah, maybe that's-
So that'll be an opportunity maybe to cross pollinate a little bit.
Sure.
I think that's March 17th, if my memory serves. Yeah,
Right, but that's with the, is that with the state?
that's with the forest, no. There was somebody that was coming to that meeting.
Yes.
Be a forester, right?
Is a forester?
Plan.
No,
Yeah.
they always just.
No.
Oh, okay.
This one.
Yeah,
You have, I think his name is Jens Pickle. Is coming.
State wildlife, right?
and what's that person's role? I don't remember. That's okay. We can look it up.
Something to do with the state wildlife, right?
Yes.
Management of, our public lands.
Yeah.
For habitat, I think, for.
But I mean, your point, Tom, is great. I mean, to me, it just shows there's an awful lot of overlap with what we're doing with what the Conservation Commission is doing. And so, there may be chapters here, if we go about it the way I was thinking about it anyway, where we want to throw it to you guys and get your input too, or something, it might be great.
We started the year, our focus was a lot on, getting employers, development.
Yeah.
Housing, businesses, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So diverging into stuff like that, stuff that's being handled or can be handled by Conservation Commission or Parks and Rec, it's probably, we don't need to be directly involved in a lot of that stuff.
But it needs to be in our plan.
Yeah, we'll bring it back to you and then you guys be the
Depending
decider.
on what format we go with, plan, we can mention stuff like
Yeah.
that for sure.
Well, it seems like, yeah, I mean, if we're talking about, forests or whatever, well, you have a whole plan.
Yeah.
So we'll get you guys to give us what you think the top points are and we can review it and say, yeah.
Yeah.
And then it goes in our plan. That's great. That's
And there's
efficient.
certain things on this list like Krieger's Rock, well, I don't think there's any worry that someone's gonna be building Krieger's Rock, so.
Where is that?
That's owned by a conservancy, I think, right?
Oh, it might be about now, yeah.
I don't know even where it is.
Yeah.
It's overlooking 346 if you're down.
Oh,
It's
okay.
like the cliff face, it's like.
Oh, so where they had a quarry?
Quarry, the
Yeah.
quarry.
It's beyond the quarry, it's a bare rock, like a cliff, kind of. Where the tannery used to be, if you
Yeah.
look up.
That may be part of the nature conservatory property.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, yeah.
There's a lot of lore that goes with the Krieger Rocks.
Yeah. Huh.
All right.
So. Was our public comment? Anybody? From Zoom? So it looks like we're coming on to the dreaded adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye. Hey, you want to adjourn too?
And